So isn't it like counterproductive to have a CBDC?
Yeah, so this is an excellent question. So, and this is like gets right to the heart of this debate that's going on, like the philosophical debate of over the heart of the technology. Like the owner of the building was actually this really old guy. He was like 89 years old or something. And he had like 1,000 S9 miners going in this place.
Buddha blesses me.
What's going on, crypto cousins? It's your Bitcoin baby daddy here with another episode of Crypto and Culture. So today I have the founder, CEO of blockspaces.io. That is Gabe Higgins himself. He's a local hero, I would say. He's a local hero in the crypto space because he has this organization, Blockspaces, and this is one of the only organizations that I see in the Tampa Bay area really pushing the cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, and blockchain narrative. So thank you so much for coming on the show, Gabes. How you doing today, man? I said Gabes. I mean Gabe, but it doesn't matter. It's the same thing.
Thanks, Mackenzie, man. It's great to be here. I'm glad we can hook up and sync up again. Yeah, it's looking forward to our discussion here.
Oh, great. Come on. Yes, well, you're going to get a good discussion, but don't mind my personality. But for people who don't know, Gabe, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background before we get into like the blockchain and cryptocurrency space?
Sure, yeah. So I'm a computer engineer from St. Pete College. That's where I studied technology. Really got into computer design. Started building my own computers from a very young age for gaming purposes, but I mean, hey, I could still build it. Fast forward a few years, started really getting into politics and understanding money, monetary policy after the 2008 crisis, especially. And then shortly after that is when I stumbled upon Bitcoin and crypto. So that's kind of the genesis of my journey here. Then I went full on into learning more about the technology and how it worked. And then that's why I'm now the co-founder of Blockspaces. We're a blockchain innovation product development studio here in Tampa Bay. We're also like the ecosystem leader for all things either cryptocurrency related or blockchain technology related. We help advise companies and organizations and especially startups as well on how to best leverage the technology, do it in a way that makes sense, do it in a cost-effective and efficient way as well. And we're just trying to drive forward the future, which we think is going to be centered around this technology.
All right. Ooh, that's what's up. So you already hit a point that I wanted to talk about. So when you say you're focused on like the blockchain innovation, so you have like developers over there that are, I guess, researching, looking into different blockchains and showing, I guess, supply chain managers or maybe a different business on how to use a blockchain or if they even need it. Is that what is the gist?
Yeah, that's the gist. Obviously, there's a lot of buzz, a lot of hype around blockchain. There's been, also with that comes a lot of misinformation, miscommunication on what it can do, and most importantly, what it can't do, what it's good for, what it's not good for. And these things are very difficult and kind of tricky and nuanced to understand. And of course, we understand that it's difficult, so we try to help it. That's where we assist. You can leverage our knowledge and expertise in this field to be able to kind of give you that shortcut to what's necessary, what's needed, what's not needed, how you can navigate this space and really use it and leverage it to your advantage, mainly to get a competitive advantage over your competition, but also to future-proof your processes. As I said earlier, I think blockchain technology is a foundational technology that's going to underline a lot of the business applications and processes in the future. So we're trying to lay that bedrock down now as it's really early. This is going to be a long endeavor, but we know it's coming. We see it already, kind of really catching speed at a pace we could not even have thought was possible just a handful of years ago. And I've been involved in this industry. Like I said, I stumbled upon Bitcoin in late 2012, so I guess I'm considered an early adopter. I saw the potential, started organizing meetup groups around the Bay Area, around Bitcoin, and then around Ethereum, and then around Hyperledger. So we've taken this position of being agnostic as far as the technology is concerned, and that has really helped develop a kind of broad scope view of the outlay of the ecosystem of the space, and so we can get a really good idea of who's doing what and what seems interesting, what kind of didn't work.
Right.
There's a lot of that.
There's a lot of that didn't work.
Yeah, so which is great, because that's all learning, right? We can learn from that, and so that's where we could take those and now build what is going to be the future, or like really hone in on that. So, like you said, some of the applications, business applications particularly, revolve around distributed identifiers, supply chain management, track and trace for transparency and immutability in that information data flow among many different partners along the supply chain or value chain, and other, of course, tracking of digital assets. Of course, cryptocurrency fits right along there with all the fintech applications that are coming from that, up to and including what's really hot right now, or that's coming down the pike for sure, is the central banking digital currencies.
Yeah,
That's a big deal. And a lot of people I mean to say, a lot of the financial industry seems to be sleeping on this. But literally just, what was it, Thursday, the U.S., this is just a couple days ago, the U.S. Congressional, there was a congressional committee that met specifically about central banking digital currencies. So this has been really elevated too, after COVID-19 really disrupted obviously everything, our lives in so many ways, but you're seeing how it's disrupted supply chains in the food and manufacturing industries, and also in the healthcare tracking, where the PPI, personal protection equipment, is, or PPE. So where, there's no transparency of who ordered what, where is it at that point, it really shined the light on how much of our system and our processes are codependent and interdependent on each other, and if there's any disruption, then it completely breaks down. And this is a big problem, as we can see with some of the food shortages. I mean, you have farmers that have tons of produce, and now you have all these places that are shut down. So farmers that their supply chain had to do with, restaurateurs that now are, because of COVID, shut down. They have all this produce, and they have no technology backing how they manage their supply chain. So they have no way to offload or find new buyers for that food. So they literally have to waste it. It gets all wasted. And meanwhile, you have other parts of the country that are starving. They can't get access to that food for the same reason. So it's really shined a light on where new systems are needed, new systems that are transparent and easier to kind of plug into a larger network. And of course, this is where blockchain applications come to the fore.
All right, perfect. You hit a couple of topics that I want to hit. All right. the first thing, the high, fast, and flying CBDCs. That that name actually came out like I think a year and a half ago. I think
Yeah.
sometime in 2018. I feel like that's when they first popped it out like CBDCs, and everyone was
Hmm.
like, "This ain't gonna catch on." And then a year later, that's the only thing they call it now.
Yeah.
But what I've learned from when being in like I guess the crypto space and using all these different blockchains and whatnot, once you've migrated into crypto, it's so hard to get into it, but once you're into it, things move pretty seamlessly. And I was like,
Hmm.
oh, this is really like, and of course, not having a central bank. So isn't it like counterproductive to have a CBDC if the whole idea of this whole movement was to move away from the banks, to have someone not be in the middle and control what you can and cannot do with that money?
Yeah, so this is an excellent question. So, and this is like gets right to the heart of this debate that's going on, like the philosophical debate of over the heart of the technology. And of course, technology is agnostic, right? In and of itself, it's how you use it, how do you deploy it, that can make it either a really good thing or beneficial thing to people, to individuals, and be privacy preserving and protect individual liberty, or it can do the exact opposite and be um, a, a weapon for tyranny, and like you said, you get just cut off of society
Yeah.
using your funds.
Imagine remember, sorry to mean I didn't mean to cut you off, but the Facebook
No,
thing, like
yeah,
the Libra.
Libra.
If Facebook's decides, hey, you know what, we don't like the way you're spending your money, cut you off, instant, gone.
Hmm.
And granted, it's not in their favor to do that to you. But at
Hmm.
the same time, when legislators come through saying, hey, we need you to do a little more KYC, we need you to see what's happening. And if they're using our CBDCs in a way we don't like, we're going to need you to cut them off. So that's definitely just having that issue. It rattles my head. But I remember recently that came out. I don't know if you saw this, but Brian Brooks, he used to be, what was it, the COO, the legal team at Coinbase, and now he's
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and now he's the comptroller for Trump's cabinet, and I'm like,
Hmm.
wow. So this is how it works.
Yeah.
If America wants to get into an industry, we're like, you know what? We're just gonna take your knowledgeable person, put them on our seat, and this is how you get in. Now you're part of the big boys.
Right.
But so now these CBDCs, I feel like, are gonna zoom by. But my question is, if they already created USDC on Coinbase, what's the point?
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of competition, it seems like, which I feel like that's a good thing. Now, with the CBDCs, it goes back to, it depends on how they actually deploy the thing. If you listen to Chris Giagarmo, I think I'm saying that wrong. But he's the former chairman of the CFTC, who has left, public office to pursue this private endeavor, which is called the Digital Dollar Project. So he is actually heading that up. He was he was on the committee discussion that just happened
Okay.
in Congress. And he is making the case for a digital dollar that actually does preserve the privacy of the individual. So one of the questions was just really direct, as far as, well, how much control will the government have to be able to peer into an individual's transactions and be able to freeze accounts. And he said that, well, if we do it correctly, we would preserve the privacy and the sanctity of the Fourth Amendment, our Fourth Amendment rights here in America, that doesn't allow for that. The government can't just do that, especially not without any kind of just cause,
Right.
or kind of trial. So he seems to be advocating for a fairly distributed system in digital dollar that actually kind of acts like a pure cryptocurrency or open decentralized network.
I think that's a good idea, and he has good faith. Hopefully, I feel like he has good faith. But how will it compete with Bitcoin? Like how like I'm sorry, because I every time I look at all these new stable coins coming out, Tether, Dai, I really like Dai. Dai is really cool. It makes sense, but then at the same time, it's backed by USDC as well, which I'm like, and that's backed by fiat. So all of this is just backed by fiat and faith. But just thinking about the whole idea of like a dollar that's like just always stays a dollar, it doesn't make sense, because for a dollar to always stay the value of a dollar, that means everything else has to fluctuate. And there's no way you can actually make a dollar stable. You get what I'm saying?
I get you what you're saying.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
Well, a lot of people don't understand how the monetary system works, right? And we've just seen where the Fed over the last couple of months have printed a tremendous amount of money, and all flooding the ecosystem with dollars. People wonder why the stock market is pumping and rallying during a pandemic where we're at record high job loss for the United States in history.
Ever.
It's crazy. But this is the effects of this kind of system where that can be completely manipulated by a central authority like that, printing dollars, printing money. And, at first you don't feel the effects of it, but the effects will come. They have to.
Because it only makes sense.
Well, yeah.
That's what I said. It only makes sense.
There's ramifications. As if a drug addict is that's addicted to drugs is overdosing constantly. They do it because it makes them feel good at first, but there's ramifications always, right?
Always.
And the same is the deal with how the monetary system works as well. And our monetary policy is horrible, but it benefits the rich. It benefits those that are in authority, in that power, and that's where they're preserving the wealth. They're preserving the wealth of the rich. So,
right.
Like right now, we're seeing the stock market. Like I said, the Nasdaq just hit all-time highs just last week. That's insane, given the situation we're in.
Yeah, no one's working. People are just getting back to work.
Getting back to work, but the economy is in shambles.
I was thinking to myself, like, how are cruise lines going crazy when no one's on cruises? No one's. I'm like, oh my god, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, nobody can travel. Hertz filed for bankruptcy in February, and now their stock rocketing. Their stock is rocketing, and they're in the middle of bankruptcy proceedings. So, and I just read that the judge actually approved of them selling off some of their stock to pay off some of their debt. And
in my head, I'm thinking,
which is unprecedented, because this has never happened before. So you're toying with a monetary system in unprecedented ways. We've never been in this situation before. We've never had so much debt here in the United States, $25 trillion plus, and they have no indications that they're going to slow down or come up with a plan to pay that off anytime within
because it's not real. It's not real. It's not even really there. What was it? Is it Jerome Powell? Is he the one that comes out with the stuff, the information? Yep. They're staying at 0% till like 2023 to 2025. That's what they're saying. They're saying they're staying at that range for a while. And that's what
they're saying. But
we're going negative soon.
We could very well go negative. And that would also be unprecedented. But we're seeing other central banks around the world doing that already. Bonds are touching negative yield already, and of course we've seen what happened with oil going negative, which is like, how does that happen?
Like, does it even, like, wait, but it's because of futures markets. That's the only way that can actually happen is through future markets.
But we're just in such uncharted territory. Like we've never seen all of these things happen at the same time in a the economic situation that we're in is just.
It's crazy. It's unfound up. So my question is, are we just gonna do another 2008, 2009, and then just keep moving, or do you feel like this is the final nail in the coffin because they don't really have much else to go off of because we're just gonna put our interest rates negative anyways?
So, yeah, man. So this is what I'm struggling with, and I talked to a couple of my friends about this as well because. I can't wrap my head around it because seeing what they did in 2008 and how they were able to inflate the whole stock market bubble right after the housing market that they inflated crashed. So that bubble popped. They started inflating a new bubble, which is where we're at now.
Right, through businesses
in the stock market. And now they're digging even deeper than they did in 2008. I thought, we all thought that was
a lot,
way too much. And they have done 10x already what they did back then. So I have no idea where this is going, and there's no telling because there's a balance, right? They were able to sustain that bubble by printing enough to give the facade to keep the keep rolling. Keep the addict, juiced up just for a little bit longer.
But don't overdose them yet. We still need to get a little bit more out of them.
Right. But this is the problem. I don't think they know how much they've already overdosed. So when exactly does the
supply, I guess it's the shock. It's just like that point.
When does that take place? It's anybody's guess. There's no way to put a time frame on it because it could literally happen at any time. And they've been able to sustain it for so long. It's unbelievable. So there's just no telling. And this is where I think people learning more about Bitcoin right now is extremely important. You have to get your knowledge up on Bitcoin. You have to understand it. You have to start dealing in Bitcoin because if you're already kind of behind the curve, right?
Yeah.
You've already waited too long. You know what it is by now. You've heard about it. Like back in the day, nobody knew about it. When I was doing meetups, nobody heard about Bitcoin.
Yeah, we're gonna get back to these meetups, but keep going. I don't want to cut you off.
So I just that's where I feel really passionate about educating people, helping them understand how Bitcoin works, why it's different, why it's going to be necessary for them to learn how to operate transacting in Bitcoin and doing it in a safe way. All of that. There's a lot to learn here. This is a completely new kind of money. So it takes a little bit. There's a little bit of time for you to wrap your head around all these concepts. But once you do, you realize, it's a far better world.
it's so I really sat there. I mean, granted, Bitcoin's slow, and some of these blockchains are really slow, and some of them are super fast. But like with some of the Ethereum DeFi, I didn't realize how seamless it really was. All you have to have is a wallet, and you can just move. Nothing. No one's telling you can't do it. If you have it, you can do it. That's it. And there's no question about it. And if you don't have it, sorry, you don't have enough in your wallet. But
it's really empowering, right?
Yeah, it's I don't know why I'm like so sorry. I get like really excited when because
absolutely.
I remember the first time I used, do you know what Uniswap is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the first time I used Uniswap, I'm like, all right, it can't be that seamless. Click. I'm like, oh, this is a better DEX than I've dealt with, and Kyber Swap is pretty good, but thinking about being able to do that seamlessly when things are finally like in the place they're supposed to be, when we actually have real tokens or good tokens, or because a lot of this stuff out here is just it's just for traders. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And it's not something that you want to hold on for a long time, and it's not something you want to invest all your money into. But just being able to use it and understand it, I think that's a skill that is going to be necessary in the future and highly valued, because from what I'm seeing is like I'm essentially like a fund manager, but for myself. I'm my own fund manager.
Yeah.
And I can teach people how to be their own fund manager, but everybody's not built to be a fund manager. You know what I'm saying? So
Sure.
There's going to be a level of, well, at least understand how to keep your own Bitcoin in your own wallet. At least understand that
it's super important.
At least understand that in the future, not only will you be able to keep your Bitcoin in your wallet, but you'll be able to earn interest on it while it's just in your wallet without having to give that up. And people are like, I don't even understand what you're talking about. Yeah. So my question is, when it comes to Bitcoin, where do you start with education? Like, what is the first thing you try to, it's like, all right, we're not even going to explain Bitcoin. You need to understand this first before we even go down the road.
Yeah. So I've been doing this for several years, right? And it really starts, it's hard because it depends on the person.
Okay.
I mean, it depends on what their background is and where they're coming from and what they care about. I try to come at it from a first principles approach, just really practical, starting off with the fact that Bitcoin is a breakthrough in science, computer science technology. So when people hear that, they're like, "What?" I thought it was just this play digital money thing, and people go on Silk Road for, or whatever. No, it's a computer science.
Don't whisper that. You can say Silk Road out loud. Don't whisper it.
Well, but it's important to understand that this is a legitimate revolutionary technology. That's the first thing. You got to understand the importance of it. And I start with the function of a digital asset, which hasn't existed. It could not exist. That was the problem. It's a computer science problem called the double spending problem, or the Byzantine generals problem.
Right.
Where, and this is the thing that blockchain and what Bitcoin was able to kind of put together and solve. So what we're like conveying how important this breakthrough is really hard for people, especially if they're not tech savvy. But it's not that difficult once you understand that we're used to having digital things. We're used to having and transacting digital information, but we understand that when I send you a picture, I don't lose ownership of that image or that file, right? Or of that data. It's just copied, right? And then you have it and you can put it on the internet, and now it can be copied ad infinitum. Of course, money can't function in that kind of environment, right? That would not.
What do you mean? It already does.
But what Bitcoin was able to solve is the fact that you can have a digital thing. You can hold digital information and send that to somebody, and you actually lose ownership of that information, lose access of that data and information, and somebody else has ownership of it, and they can prove it with a cryptographic signature. So understanding these fundamentals.
That's a great explanation by the chance. That's probably going to be the intro to the episode. But thank you. But continue.
Sure. Well, that's what seems to kind of click with people, right? When they understand that, I have wait, I can have a digital thing and actually prove ownership of it. This hasn't happened before Bitcoin. Understand that that was impossible, and Bitcoin made it possible. So now we have all kinds of digital assets now, and we can do all kinds of different things with that core functionality, with that technology. So this is what's exciting, is because it's making like a more equitable and transparent ecosystems that are
Right.
built off of these fundamentals of provable scarcity, of provability that you own something, provability that you control it and only you have access to that. You can actually prove it to yourself.
You can prove it to the world that Craig
or
writes Satoshi.
could
You
if he
could.
has the keys.
If he ever actually proved it, but he never did.
But he never did, and never does, and never will. So
Never will.
So yeah, this is the thing. This is a breakthrough, and it's a
excitement.
revolutionary breakthrough. And in my slides that I do, I actually put quotes of very well-known technologists like Mark Andreessen, Bill Gates, the guy from Apple,
Steve Wozniak.
Apple. Yeah.
The only reason I know Steve Wozniak is because I'm in crypto. That's literally it. That's the only way I know this man's name.
And that's kind of backwards, but yeah. No, but these heavy technologists, it took a little bit, right? But once you actually look at the technology, it's sound. And once you realize it's sound, you realize how big of a deal it is. And so that's what I try to get people to understand. Like, get to the heart of the conversation, which is, this is a big deal. And I'm trying to convey to you how big of a deal it is, and I'm probably still not doing
justice. And it's almost like you can't, because if you really get into the nuances and really talk about why this is important, you will lose them. You will lose, like they're gone. And so it's so hard.
Yeah, that's where it gets tricky, because there comes a point where unless you're gonna dive into the technical aspects of it and how cryptographic key signatures work, or consensus mechanisms, and all of this stuff, unless you're gonna go down the rabbit hole, and many do. I'm still falling down it, but unless you're like that, you just want, like, okay, is this legitimate? Yes or no, right? You just want the gist. Just like cut to the chase. What's the deal? What's the situation? Can I trust this? Can I trust that this is going to work and I'm not going to lose all my money?
The thing is, and when I always get can I trust this question, I hit them with the Matrix. In the future, you won't have to trust it.
Exactly. Oh, that's good.
You're not going to have to trust it. Honestly, people really can't get over the fact that they trust the internet but have no clue how it works.
Yeah, exactly.
No clue. Yeah. And I'm like, the moment we get to the point where we don't have to explain how Bitcoin works and people just accept, oh, it's that internet money that's not going away, then it's like, all right, we've made it. Now let's make some memes. Let's make some memes.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we're getting there really fast. Faster than
I thought.
Way faster than I ever thought. Where we're at now, I thought we would be in another 10 years from now.
Really?
But oh yeah, especially with enterprise applications, did not expect it to come so fast. I thought it was nonsense at first, actually. And I know a lot of people, a lot of maximalists especially, think enterprise blockchain is a bunch of nonsense. And I completely sympathize with that. However, once you get into understanding some of the now there's tons of different enterprise blockchains, or just distributed ledger technology systems that have legitimate use cases, and business applications that, you know, yeah, maybe they don't care about full decentralization and
Right.
censorship resistance, but
Not everything needs
there's
that.
business applications don't need that. They need other practical considerations that still leverage some fundamental aspects of blockchain technology, but give up some of the others. So there's like this give and take there, and not everybody in crypto understands the business problems of enterprises, and you can't. There's no way you can possibly understand all the problems in all enterprises in all industries.
No, of course not.
So once you start to go down that road and you start exploring, as many people have, and you start to see the issues that underline our systems that we take completely for granted. And like I mentioned earlier, COVID-19 really brought to light how fragile these systems are that we depend on for our food. They're fundamentally flawed because of how they're structured, and they're because and it's the fundamental flaw in all these systems is because they rely on central databases.
Yeah,
That is the problem. So of course a blockchain network, where you can kind of feed a provenance of truth and data and information flow, is a game changer for some of these industries. And so unless you get into the nuance of that, you don't understand it. And so I agree, and a lot of times, especially seeing what we saw in 2017 with all the nonsense projects that came about, there was just way too much fluff, way too much hype, way too much
I still have
garbage.
some. I have some. What is it? Well, some deep brain chain somewhere on some random wallet that I've given up on about something that is going to revolutionize the world, and we're sending crypto to space, and I'm like, all right, cool, whatever.
Oh yeah,
That's done.
yeah. I mean, it's interesting, but again, it's a learning process as well. That those things are not real applications.
Right.
What we're
It's
saying
vaporware.
now, yeah, it's total vaporware. What we're saying now is actually legitimate. There's pilots out. There's standards that are coming out. These things are really taking a hold over the past couple years. And of course, when it was first coming out, it seemed silly. Just like Bitcoin. Bitcoin seemed silly when it first came out, and it was riddled with issues as well. It needed time to mature. It needed time to grow. It needed that incubation period where it could iterate on itself and improve itself. And now look where it is, right? And it's still going. It's still improving. The things coming down in the pike with Bitcoin, that I think most of the market is not paying attention to, because Bitcoin's the old, it's 1.0 blockchain. They're completely dismissing Bitcoin and discounting the fact of how much development resources are being put behind it, and the innovation that's happening on Bitcoin is the most cutting edge blockchain innovation that there is, hands down. So Bitcoin is pushing blockchain into the future, not the other way around.
All right. So I do have two solid good questions. So meetups then versus meetups now, or let me break it into three. Meetups then when you first started, meetups in 2017, and meetups now.
Yeah, there's these distinct errors, right? So when we started, of course, there was a lot of buzz, a lot of hype as well early on. So you had these other like-minded early adopters that saw the potential there, right? And so we would have a pretty solid group of 20 to 30 people coming out on a regular basis. We would hold monthly meetups. But when 2017 came around, that was when it all changed. In 2016, right, which was, or I should say 2014, 2015, like the dulges of the market where we bond them out after the big run up to 1200. we had maybe like 3 people coming out to the meetups. Me and this other guy that always comes, and maybe 1 or 2 other stragglers, and that was it, right, for the longest time. But then 2016, the market started, kind of showing signs that it's picking back up. And then 2017, everything went nuts. That's when we had hundreds of people coming out to our meetups. And at that point, we were just meeting at a restaurant. We were just at a table at a restaurant. And we obviously couldn't do that anymore. So I had to find a space to hold these meetups with all these people coming. And, we're focused on, really educating people. And we had, like I said, they're coming at it from all different kinds of sides. You had people interested in developing. You had people interested in mining. You had people interested in trading. So you had all these different factions. And then the business applications. So you had all these different people, all these different groups wanting to learn, particular information of this emerging ecosystem. So it was really tricky. And that's when we decided to open block spaces.
Yeah.
So I self-funded it with my partner, and we found a space, that building on Gandhi. I don't know if were you ever there?
No, I don't think I've made anything that was on. I remember the downtown meetup spots.
Okay.
And I think that's the only one that I've ever been to. Because right before, I think that's when you originally got the downtown meetup spot, because I didn't get to the other spot. There was like a mirror kind of looking place. I never saw that place.
Yeah. That was our original location. That was interesting because the owner of the building was actually this really old guy. He was like 89 years old or something. He's like ancient, but and this building was it was a server, whatchamacallit. It was where they hosted servers.
Okay.
So you had but what he had done was convert that into a mining facility.
Oh.
So he actually had, this is in Tampa, right off Gandhi, and he had like 1,000 S9 miners going in this place, and it was loud and it was hot and there was a lot of air moving through that building.
My gosh!
It was very interesting. So he loved having us there. Obviously he got it. Like, he understood what was going on.
S9s running, so yeah, I would hope he understands.
Yeah, man, he had a whole operation. It was kind of a mess, but it was interesting too. The first thing you notice when you walk in the building actually is first you hear the hum from outside, and this is like in a shopping center. He owned this portion of this building, this data center, and outfitted it for these mining rigs, and so he had these huge air extractors on the roof of the building, just sucking air out of that building like crazy at a rate that would blow your mind, to where when you first go to open the doors in the building, you have to like jar them open because
it's all
the negative pressure in the building is pulling at them. So it was just a fascinating time.
What
really
people would do,
but
you have to think, like, I think that's one of the best times to be in, like, on emerging. Like, look at what people will do. They will MacGyver something. They will MacGyver a whole building just to get these coins because it makes sense to them and they understand it. Like, and it's almost kid-like. Like, it almost gives you get that imagination. What can we do? How can we suck up all the air in this building? What? We have to find a way to suck up all the air out of this building because we're about to put 1,000 machines in here and we're gonna just heat up the whole place. And especially in Florida, oh my God, they must have been crazy. It must have been crazy.
I mean, he told me what their electric bill was, and it was insane. It was like $50,000 a month or something.
My God. It must have been worth it at the time.
Yeah, I think he did really well, actually. But anyway, that was our original location,
Right.
And so we had plenty of room. We have 4,000 square feet to do what we want, so we could hold our meetups. We can separate the different groups into different areas of the space and kind of hold presentations there, do workshops. Our grand opening, we had a full day long conference basically. Yeah. So it was really neat for that. But that's where the education starts. Really, I mean, I get people all the time that they try to watch YouTube videos, and this is why I started the meetups in the first place. Is because I'm trying to learn this thing back in 2012, and there's like almost no information about it.
Nothing.
So I'm reading everything I can, watching everything I can, and it just got to the point where it's like, okay, I have so many questions, and I have nowhere to, like, who do I just want to ask somebody.
Right.
Why can't I just go to somebody and ask them this question and get an answer, right? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to start a meetup. I'm going to find other people that have this same issue and probably know more than me, and so then we can talk about it. So that's what I did. That's where we started. And so I understood how frustrating it was to learn this stuff and not having a resource where you could just bounce a question off and get an answer, right? And of course you can go on YouTube.
There's just mountains of resources
now there's too much.
That people get lost.
People get lost and confused, and this person is saying this and that person is saying that, and you just can't get a straight answer, right? And so that's where people find value in meetups, and I highly recommend to everybody, if you're trying to learn more about the space, learn more about how to invest into cryptocurrencies, for instance, get involved in a local meetup. You do have to be slightly careful, especially now the market's picking up. You have to be careful about scammers. There are unfortunately scammers that will hold meetups that will try to sell you something. We don't do that. We have nothing to sell. I mean, we just pimp our sponsor, Edge Wallet, best wallet ever.
Hey, look, you do what you got to do.
Gotta show love to them, but it's a free app.
It's an app. It just helps you.
They'll actually send you Bitcoin if you download their app using block spaces. Anyway, but no, we're just trying to support people learning more about this. I feel it's very important. It's going to be an integral part of our future going forward. And so I encourage everybody to learn as much as they can, as fast as they can, and really take your time and to understand it.
Understand what's going on.
Invest in your knowledge first
before you invest your
money down.
All right. So then, last question: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Hyperledger. Which one's your favorite?
So, for clarity, Hyperledger is not one thing. Hyperledger is, I think they're up to like 17 different open source protocols and tools that are developed using blockchain in some way, shape, or form. Some of them are specifically outfitted for particular use cases.
Specific industries, right?
Specific use cases, not necessarily specific industries.
Okay.
So like there's Hyperledger, there's a ton of them.
Like Fabric, Basu.
There's Hyperledger, Fabric, Basu, Sawtooth.
It's all just words to me.
Quilt. Yeah, there's a lot going on with Hyperledger. So that's important to understand. There's a distinction there that it depends on which project you're talking about.
Okay.
Because they're not all the same. They're all different, in fact, and they all do different things and are trying to tackle different problems. So, but to back up, Bitcoin, Ethereum, I think are also two completely different systems trying to tackle completely different problem sets. Bitcoin is sound money. It is the most sound money
You'll
that I
ever
think
have.
mankind has ever conceived of, which again is a big statement. But once you understand, first of all, money, how that works, and then second of all, understand how Bitcoin works, it's undisputable. It's far better than gold for multiple reasons, and I believe will win out in the long run. So to me it's a matter of time than anything else, and that time is compressing given the current situations around the world that are happening with monetary systems.
They can print as much money if
everywhere.
they want. They can print as much money as they want. It's all
Well,
gonna funnel to Bitcoin.
So that's the thing, right? Prior to Bitcoin, like Bitcoin is really like, I think time will delineate the point before and after Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin is going to be that instrumental in the future.
Really?
It's going to be a point of time that we actually, it's like the line in the sand, between when money was kind of a free for all and when we actually instituted sound monetary policies that are programmatic.
So it's gonna be like a Bretton Woods flip.
I think so. Well, it's bigger than that because it's global. Bitcoin is going to be the reference point. We are going to be able to now delineate between which fiat systems were operating more poorly than others. And right now we do that based on the dollar, because the dollar is still the world's reserve currency.
Yeah.
Which is a very prestigious and unique status, but it's not like a given. You can't just you don't just have that, and it's not just bestowed upon you for no reason. It's like that for a reason. You can study some monetary history if you want to know that, but Bitcoin is kind of like that line in the sand where now we have a sound monetary system that can't be manipulated or changed by anybody or any particular government agency or government group around the world. So that is going to be the standard. That is going to be what we kind of reflect on other fiat systems and how they operate in the future. It's not big enough yet right now, but it's already starting to happen, right?
Yes. Once you get a CBDC in a person's hand, you've basically just given them the gateway drug. Now, granted, they're gonna find a way to make it like not, and I personally don't think they're gonna be able to convert CBDCs into Bitcoin unless the government's really trying to stack up on Bitcoin. But exactly what you're saying, which is kind of happening right now when you see like poorer countries who are already going through hyperinflation, and you see how their money's just like, well, Bitcoin was this much in there, Bitcoin was this much the week later, and you see the like Bitcoin right now I think is in the top 10 or top 20 currencies in the world. And I'm like, oh wow, it's already established, and it's just knocking the next person down. And it's like, your system isn't as good as mine. My system was built better.
Yep.
Do it better, or I'm just gonna crush you. And that's exactly what's happening. But it's gonna happen over a long period of time, and people really want to happen right now. Like now, I want it now. But we're so used to the system of getting everything instantly that we don't realize this isn't something that's gonna be instant. And so this is why I'm here, because I'm.
And you wouldn't want it to. That would cause so much disruption.
There'd be a big divide between. It'd be such a big divide between people who have it and people who don't.
Yeah, and you don't want that to happen super fast. So I think the transition period, we're in it. We're in the middle of it. It may take a while. It may take a decade or two, or longer. I think within the next 2 decades is where we're going to see the most radical change as far as how that transfer kind of takes place. But that could be precipitated too by, like I said, the things that are happening now in our monetary system and monetary policies around the world that are just completely unprecedented in human history. That could very well, make this go a lot faster than we originally anticipate, which will unfortunately cause a lot of problems with a lot of people. That's why, I stress, take the time, learn about it now, so you're ready. When you're ready to take that leap, you feel comfortable doing so, and you know what you're doing. Instead of following the crowd when it happens, it's gonna be too late at that point, and you don't want to do that.
Nobody wants to do that. No one wants. Honestly, no one wants to buy at the top. My audience will understand that part.
Yeah,
but
no, you want to get off zero. That's the point. Get off zero.
What is it?
Start
1%.
Grabbing some satoshis.
And it's really so easy now. Like, there's literally multiple ways you can just stack some satoshis.
Oh man, it's so easy now.
Multiple ways.
I'm so envious that people can get in so easy, because when I started, it was a nightmare.
you had to get this machine from China, and you have to pray that it came in.
It was way too difficult, and it took me probably like 9 months to even pick up my first Bitcoins, because it was such a daunting task, and I was like, I'm not gonna send a morning order or a wire to some thing in Japan. That's crazy. So yeah, I didn't do it. That was a barrier of entry for me. But now you can do it in Cash App in 5 minutes. You can pick up $5 worth of Bitcoin right now.
Instant.
Go onto your Cash App. Put some money on your Cash App. If you already have money in your Cash App, even better.
Done.
It's even faster. It's so fast. It's nice. Same with Edge. Edge has several different exchange partners built into their wallet.
Oh.
Edge.app, by the way, is if you do /block spaces, they'll give you a couple bucks in Bitcoin. But they have several different exchange partners. Some of them require KYC, but some of them don't. And you can hook it up to your bank account, send some funds, and boom.
That's it.
You got instant access. It sends it directly to your wallet, so you're not holding funds on an exchange. It's in your wallet. It's a non-custodial wallet, so you control your private keys, which is another point
which is necessary.
That I highly stress people understand.
All right. So Gabe, thank you so much for coming on the show. I truly appreciate it. One last time, where can everybody find you? Where can they get the best resources for not only block spaces for Bitcoin? Let them know where they can find you.
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter. I'm crypto_edge on Twitter. Of course, our website, blockspaces.io. You can sync up with us there, check out everything that's going on there. Hit us up on social media as well, blockspaces.io or _IO on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Everywhere. And you'll get the latest on our weekly meetups. We have a weekly meetup every Wednesday evening at 7 o'clock at night. So we just hang out, talk about what's happening, all the news and the latest announcements, what's happening locally and, of course, globally in the space, and just try to keep everybody informed and trying to grow the ecosystem.
All right, perfect. All right, guys, you guys know what to do. Go show them some love on all their social media. Go in the comments, leave the comments. Let me know in the comments. How will I put this? How much money you think that old 89-year-old man made with all those miners in his building? Let me know in the comments how much money you think he made from the miners. Other than that, check me out next time. Take it easy. Peace.